Connor Rogers here at the NFL Combine alongside national championship quarterback Will Howard. Will, I was joking with you before we got on. Long season, quick turnaround, but how are you enjoying this process so far?
Man, it's been awesome. It's been a whirlwind. Everything's going quickly, but it's been a little bit of a shorter process for me to get ready for this deal, but for all the right reasons, kind of like you said. So I mean, it was a blessing, an amazing year, and just excited to parlay this thing into the next level.
When you transferred to Ohio State, could you have wrote a better script of how your final college season would go?
Man, I mean, obviously I'd like to say that we were, undefeated national champs.
Sure.
But, at the end of the day, man, I think all the things that we went through and the adversity that we faced in the season helped us in the end. And, man, I really, looking back at it, I could not have made a better decision for myself. Making the decision to go to Ohio State was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
So everybody looks at the national title now, but what were the challenges you faced playing a lot of college football at one place, transferring, being the guy, and then the expectations are just cranked up to a 10 right away, and you're playing with all new faces for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the deal. I knew that was going to be hard, man, and I knew, going into it, that was what I was stepping into. And, the expectations at Ohio State, it's kind of like playing for an NFL franchise in a
with
in
NFL
college,
wide receivers.
Exactly, with an NFL roster, man. And it was the step that I needed to take me in the right direction to get me ready for this, because what I've been telling everyone is my ultimate goal is to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So I wanted to take a step in the right direction and continue to elevate my game. And I think going to Ohio State, dealing with the pressure, dealing with the expectations, and I think even the fact that not everything went perfectly. We lost a couple games. I think that just taught me so much, and the team that we had so much. And coming in and having to win over a whole locker room full of NFL guys, like all those different experiences. I mean, it was just invaluable for me, and just did so much good for me.
Well, it's funny that you remind people it wasn't always perfect, right? To me, when we were watching you throughout the season, the Purdue game was the game where I was like, oh, this is a guy going from running the offense confidently. Then you started making big-time plays throughout multiple quarters of every single game from that stretch. It felt like some kind of green light came on, whether, I don't know if it was chemistry. What was it to you where it was like, okay, now I'm really driving this offense and we could take some chances here?
Yeah, man, I don't know if there's one thing I can,
Sure.
put my finger on. And, it was, I definitely felt more comfortable as the season went on. And that's, how you want to be in a football season is you want to be playing your best ball, at the end of the year.
Of course.
I mean, I think that was definitely true, for us and for Ohio State this year. And, that's what, that was great. And I think, I learned a lot throughout the season, and I kind of just got more comfortable as we went on. And I think, the relationship between myself and, Coach Day and Coach Kelly, and then, the rest of the team, it just continued to get better and better as the season went on. And, we peaked at the right time.
You bring up Coach Kelly, now on to the NFL, or back to the NFL. How is he as a quarterback whisperer, developer? What is it about him that makes him thrive in that kind of setting?
I think one of the biggest things for me is that, I think he truly wanted to be where he was last year. He is a football guy through and through. He wants to coach football. There's a lot of stuff, especially in the college game now, that comes with being a head coach, and you kind of got to be a politician.
It's not always football.
It's not
I
always
tell people
football.
that. Yeah.
It's different. I've seen Coach Day. I've seen Coach Kleiman at Kansas State. It's almost like a general manager kind of deal.
Right.
Now. You're doing a lot of different stuff. You're almost like a politician. And Coach Kelly I could feel he really wanted to be with us, and he poured into me and all of us in that room, and we just had a great time together. And I could tell that, he just truly loved the game, and as much as I love the game. And, he was able to share a bunch of, experiences with me of, his time in the NFL, his time in college, and, all those perspectives that he had through his time. And, he's seen pretty much every situation, from NFL to college, and he was able to share a lot of that with me, and it helped me a ton.
So you're a guy that could have left for the NFL last year if you wanted to. And I think one of the great things about the transfer portal era is that a lot of quarterbacks specifically are getting to stay. They're getting to go to another program, which I think brings upon adversity. How does that allow you to develop further at the college game rather than being thrusted onto an NFL roster and it's like, man, the speed really just goes up?
Yeah, man, it's, people can say what they want about the transfer portal being, a negative thing.
Right.
And, there's been a lot of talk about that. But in my case and in a lot of people's cases, I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me, man. And, I think when you're able to go through, multiple different systems in college and learn how to adapt to different locker rooms, adapt to different teams and cultures, and although I thought the cultures and the the kind of the morals of both teams were pretty similar at the core. It was a nice challenge for me, and I know that going into the NFL, I was going to need to do that, and I was going to need to not just be comfortable in one place and be able to be ready to kind of adapt and change. And, I think that was, obviously, coming out of the year last year, I just didn't feel like my draft stock was where I wanted it to be, and I wanted to prove more, and I thought I had more in the tank. And, I think, the transfer portal gave me the opportunity to go somewhere, prove that, win a national championship. And, it's like I said, man, best thing that ever happened to me.
So all the NFL teams, the great part is they've now seen all that tape. But when they come here and meet with you, they really just want to get to know the person, especially quarterbacks, because they're viewed as the face of the franchise, as you are well aware of. What do you want them to learn about you specifically as a person when this week is over?
I think, obviously, I want them to know that, I know football. I'm an elite processor. I believe, I'm talented on the field, and I'm as talented as, anyone else. And, I want them to know all of that, but I want them to get to know me for me. I feel like, I feel like I'm a pretty decently fun guy, man. Like I can have fun. I can crack jokes. I can, be serious when I need to be. But I like to keep things light. I've always been like that, man. I wanted to show my personality a little bit and just be myself. And that was the biggest thing, coming into this thing, prepping for it. Like, people were just telling me, just be yourself, man. Just have fun, and somebody's going to fall in love with you. And that's the goal, man. Hopefully, I want to be that face of the franchise for somebody. And, I'm just excited to get the chance to continue to develop these relationships with guys and show them who I am. And, I can bring a positive light to some locker room.
If a team asks you in one of those meetings, hey, can you pitch us on your teammate, Emeka Egbuka, what would you say to them? Because I think he's a guy, it's weird to say because everybody knows Emeka, but he's almost starting to become underrated in this draft for all the great things he does on the field.
Mech is just one of the best people I've ever been around. You want to talk about football player, I'm talking about just person.
Right.
He's my roommate here. When I walked into the room, I saw it was receiver. I was like, man, I hope that's Emeka. Please be Emeka. He walks up to me in the cafeteria room and goes like this, and it said 12 on there. I was like,
that's awesome.
Goodness, man. Oh my gosh. But he's my guy, man. From the moment I walked into Ohio State, I remember calling him on my visit. I just was like, man, this guy he gets it. He understands the game like a quarterback. He pushed me in my faith this year. He is an unbelievable man of God. He just gets it in a lot of different ways. And, obviously the you put on the film and what he does on the field shows for itself, man. And he's one of the most athletic people I've ever been around. It doesn't matter if you're playing basketball, pool, anything.
He's that guy, picks up.
He's just one of those dudes that's just good at everything he does, and the most competitive guy, hates losing. So whoever gets him is getting an absolute steal. The fact that he's been really not the number one guy on every single roster he's been on, and he's okay with that.
Right.
I remember talking to him in the playoffs and being like, man, I want to get you this reception record. I want to get you the yards record.
Yeah, recognition.
Recognition for him. And I remember telling him that, me just being the teammate, I just wanted that for him. But he's like, dude, I don't care. I just want to win games. I just want to win a national championship. If we do that, I'm happy. And that speaks to him.
You could see it on tape. It makes me laugh when you guys would motion him into the backfield to block, be a lead blocker. And I'm like, this is a wide receiver.
And he prided himself on it.
It looked like he loved it just as much as catching a touchdown.
Absolutely.
If you could train with one NFL quarterback, could be past or present, doesn't have to be a guy in the league today, even just pick his brain for an hour, who would that guy be?
I think you got to say Tom Brady.
Right.
Man.
If you had someone else.
I've always said Peyton has been my favorite quarterback
cerebral.
growing up.
Yep.
But I've actually been lucky enough to spend some time with him, and obviously through the Manning Passing Academy the last couple of years, and he was texting me throughout the playoffs. Gave me a hard time when I beat up on his Volunteers in the first round. So if I could just sit down with Peyton and just one-on-one work out with him, pick his brain on some stuff, because I felt like he was one of the most elite preparers in the game, and then obviously cerebrally he was unbelievable, and then obviously he just worked so hard, and I just would love to pick his brain on that.
Could Jeremiah Smith play in the NFL today?
Yes.
I would agree with you.
100%, no question.
Have you ever seen someone at that age just look like that? When you got there in spring, was it who are you? Like, how old are you again?
Believe me, dude. It took me a while to be
Yeah.
like, man, this guy's how old? Like, he is a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look like it. And if you were to sit, across the table from him, look at him from 10 feet away, you'd be like, man, that dude is, he does not look like a freshman.
Grown
but then
man.
you talk to him, and you're like, oh, it's just he's just
Right.
he's just a kid, man. And I think he's an unbelievable guy. Like, he's quiet, kind of soft spoken, but humble. Like, every time I would just walk over to him, I'd be like, hey, JJ, like, on this one, I want you to, stem him up here, do this. And he would just, yeah, like, and he would do it. And if he didn't know the route, he'd look at me. I'd be like, hey, JJ, you got to dig. Maybe in the first couple of days of spring ball, like, hey, I'd tell him, like, hey, just remind him what he's got.
Right.
And he'd go out there and run the best dig I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, this kid's 18 years old. He understands the game. He's smart. He's got good instincts on the field. Like, he's gonna be special, man. When it's all said and done, I think he could be one of the best to do it.
So when you finally get a break from all this, what do you get to do away from football for fun?
It's a good question, man. I've always been an outdoorsy guy.
Not a lot of time.
There's not a lot of
Yeah.
time. I'm especially in this process.
Right.
I'm definitely running around and going back out to train after this and get ready
Right.
for my pro day. But I love playing golf, man. I love playing golf, and I just love kicking it with my friends. Whether it's I just like being around people, man. I miss my boys, from Ohio State. I haven't really been getting to train with them. I've obviously been out in California and made some new friends, which has been great. But I miss my Kansas State guys. I miss my Ohio State guys. If I could go out and play 18 with some of my boys, man, that'd be a dream.
National championship quarterback Will Howard, man. It's been a lot of fun watching your college career. Can't wait to see where you end up at the next level. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Connor.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.